Hi, my name is Lainey. I am a health science major, a public health major if you want to get into the specifics of it, and I am a junior this year. Today I'm going to be talking about love, loss, and loyalty for my intersectionality and positionality show and tell presentation. I would first like to describe what both of those terms are and what they mean. For intersectionality, that is how a person's multiple identities overlap to create unique experiences, opportunities, and barriers. It's a way of understanding how different forms of oppression can compound and create obstacles that are not easily understood or interpreted. And positionality is the idea that a person's social identity and location within society shapes their understanding of the world. It also refers to the process of analyzing and acting on one's own social position. For my two figures, I have one of them here with me today, and the other one I do not have with me physically. They are my cat, Simba, and my grandmother. To start with my grandmother, this is a picture of her. This was shortly before she died, my junior year of high school. To start off, I'm going to talk about her impact and who she was. Her name was Jeanette, but I always just called her Grandma. She always encouraged me to be proud of who I was, and she was a strong, supportive presence in my life. My dad worked offshore for the first few years of my life, so he wasn't around 24/7. But my grandma was, as well as my mom, and she helped my mom out a lot because at that point it was kind of like being a single mother. Her encouragement helped me feel comfortable embracing my own values and beliefs, even though they were different from her own. I was raised Catholic, and that is a very big part of my life, and my grandmother was Methodist, but regardless of the fact that we were different denominations, she never made it a big deal, and I felt like she always understood who I was a person regardless of our differences. Her death had a very big impact on me. Everything changed when she passed away my junior year of high school. Her absence left a void that changed my entire family dynamic. I felt like she was the glue that held it all together, and when she wasn't here anymore, everything kind of fell apart. I stopped seeing my aunts and my uncles and my cousins, and I don't think we've had a single family Christmas since she died. I had to navigate the grief that I was feeling, as well as dealing with these changes that were happening in my family. It made me grow up faster and become more independent because she was the last grandparent that I had left, and that was the only parent that my dad had, and my parents were grieving, and grief is a really funny thing, and I felt guilty going to my parents because I knew that they were struggling with things as well. Losing her reinforced how much our identities are shaped by the people that support us, and it also shows what happens when that support system is no longer there. To connect my grandmother with intersectionality and positionality, I think that my position and my experience with grief intersects with my faith and my role in my family, along with the personal growth that I've experienced. Compared to other people who may not have experienced the loss of a close family member at a young developmental age, I think that my perspective on life and relationships has been changed by loss and strength. For my second topic, it is going to be my cat, Simbi, Mr. Simbus. Yeah, this is him. He's running around here. I see him. Let me show him.
His butt is very wet.
Because he's the star of the show.
His butt is very wet. I don't know why. I don't know what it is.
This is Simba. Here, I'll let you go, buddy. I know you don't want to sit here. So I met Simba my freshman year of college during an ice storm. My mom found him underneath her car, and he wouldn't let anyone touch him except my mom. And my mom brought him home, and I instantly fell in love with him. The minute he walked through those doors, he was trapped and he was never leaving. I didn't know it at the time, but he would become one of the most important parts of my life. He did have an owner, but he was the only one in the litter that nobody wanted. So obviously, I snatched him up and he instantly became my child. He's been my best friend and my constant companion, and he stuck with me through some of my biggest life changes. I graduated in 2020, so my first year of college, it was like peak pandemic, and I have a compromised immune system. I have a immune deficiency to streptococcus pneumonia, so I was not able to move out and attend college like everyone else my age, and obviously that was really hard for me, but it's honestly perfectly fine because if I wasn't home, I wouldn't have gotten Mr. Mans. Transitioning to college was a huge shift that was really difficult for me just because everything is changing. Your friend groups are changing, your living space is changing. Anything that could change, it was happening. And Simba was there to comfort me through those stressful and uncertain times. He's been with me through a lot of major transitions, such as moving out, as well as my own personal growth and my mental health. His presence has helped my mental and emotional well-being beyond measure, which proves how deep the bond between animals and humans can be. To connect it back with the topic of the presentation, not everyone has the privilege of having a pet that can provide emotional support, and I know that. Having Simba is a responsibility and a source of comfort. Taking in a cat is not just something you can lightly do. They are basically little toddlers that run around. And he represents stability in my life that has had a lot of change because my grandma did die 2 years prior, so I was still grieving with that when I met him. He's a reminder that love and companionship don't always come from people. To wrap things up, my grandmother and Simba both represent different but equally important parts of my identity. One shaped who I was becoming as a person, and the other has shaped me as I've continued to grow. Their impact has shaped my perspective on family, relationships, and my own personal strength and limits. For one final thought, I would just like to say that our identities aren't shaped by just one particular thing. We are the sum of people, experiences, and even pets that stay with us through life's biggest moments.